One thing that I think is a bit, how do I say this? How do I say this as non-controversially as possible? How's it going, everybody? All you funky French kids of the internet. Mark with Cardivox Academy here, and today we're checking out something with, you know, we're moving a little bit away from the deathcore sound. We're not going so far out of our comfort zone as we have been recently with the power metal tracks, or at least as we've been recording them. I don't know if we'll release them in that order, but that's the order I've been filming them in the past couple days. So today we are checking out Obscura, Devoured Usurper. Now, I've heard a little bit of Obscura, not a whole lot for whatever reason. I'm excited to talk about this because I love those low, steady growls and grunts. That is my bread and butter. I love it. Now, if you're new to the channel, again, my name is Mark. I'm the vocalist in 3 metal bands: Kardashev, Neverbreath, and Viremia. Kardashev being the most active, really. And I myself am a vocal coach, specifically helping people learn how to growl and grunt and scream high-pitch, crazy noises. That's what I do for a living. It's how I pay the bills. So we take the reaction format here. We focus on vocals. We break it down. We try to make it educational so you learn something, hopefully a couple little tidbits and golden nuggets to help you along your vocal journey. If you like the content, like, share, subscribe. Makes us feel good knowing that we're helping people out. And of course, we do have a Patreon where you can come join the Discord community. We have events, multiple events every month, some aimed at just vocalists. I mean, anybody can hang, but it's for vocalists primarily, and others that are just fun, listening to music, playing some games, whatever it may be. So with that being said, that's all I got. That's everything. Let's check out Obscura, Devoured Usurper. Let's go. Oh. All right, it sounds like we've got a little, we're in the 40 seconds. I always pause in the 40 seconds. It's just the math of how songs are written, apparently. So we've already got a couple cool things going on. First of all, yo, you can hear the bass. Listen to that. How often is the bass that forward? Maybe it is very common in other genres, but I feel like the bass always kind of gets the bad end of the deal, but I can hear that nice kind of plunky bass tone coming through, which is really cool. Okay, let's talk vocals though, because that's why we're here. I'm not a bassist. I don't know anything about playing bass. So this is a very solid, steady, strong false chord growl. Now, when we talk about false chord, I've been mentioning this a little bit more in my videos because I think it's important to note. When we talk about false chord, we are primarily actually getting our distortion from our arytenoid cartilages, not the false chords themselves. Some distortion is coming from the false chords, of course, sure. But mostly our false chords are kind of narrowing the airflow, right? The arytenoid cartilages, they can be in more of an open state or more of a closed state. You can see a lot of this with footage of laryngoscopies, right? And they're all over YouTube, A couple with metal vocals that you can check out. They're fun to watch. I suggest you do. And then others of just normal speaking or singing, right? Laryngoscopy or stroboscopy. You can use those words to Google it or to YouTube it. But the difference here is that, like, more of an open sound, right? A more closed sound, and that's a lot of what we're getting here. A very forward driving sound. Now, a lot of times when people try to make this sound, one of the most common things that you'll get with new false chord vocalists, people who are going for this false chord sound, which I don't think you should pigeonhole yourself to a specific scream when you're starting. You should focus on what's comfortable for your voice and what makes sense for your body and really build that. That's neither here nor there. But what a lot of people will do is they'll think that this is an epiglottic rattle. And it's not that at all. and I think to myself, right? Totally different sound, different structures being utilized in different ways, right? So with this, if I take my false chord grunt, I, that's existing from the same space as my speaking voice. However, I'm keeping my vocal folds open. I, I. Hear how that distortion is existing on just a clean, steady stream of air? What if then I change the position of my arytenoids, right? I kind of bring them in. Now, I can't do that intentionally, right? I can't just be like, arytenoids, move in 30 degrees. Like, it doesn't work that way. So what I do is I utilize the tongue position. Hey, Kermit the Frog here. Hey. And it helps me get that sound. There's a little bit more to it than that, of course, but I just realized I've been talking a whole long time. Let's keep going. I'm a little bit long-winded, if you can't tell. Ooh. Oh. All right, I'm going to pause it here. I was waiting for a good transition, but I'm not hearing one because the song is just nonstop brutality. So one thing that's really cool that I'm actually quite enjoying is the way there were these sections where he was, I think the lyric was just I. So he was saying, I, right? A little bit more closed. I, right? He's got that I sound. And it sounded like they had another vocal layer under it. And they were widening that vocal layer to create this big sound, and they kind of put some reverb on there. That created this big, like, cavernous sound that I really loved. I really loved that. You know, now I'm not an audio producer myself. I've watched it happen. I just got back from Tennessee where we were doing it on our own Kardashev album, and I was just kind of like mesmerized by all the stuff they can do. But I loved that touch. I love how they upped the reverb and created a thicker effect on the vocals. That was really cool. The other thing is we heard him move into sort of a higher mid scream, right? And we did hear some true chord. I'm sure that the section will repeat, right? But we did hear some true chord phonation happen underneath. Now, phonation is a word that just means speech sounds, right? When we utilize sound using our vocal instrument to convey meaning, we are phonating, right? And a true chord phonation is what I'm doing right now. Hey, what's up, everybody? Hi, this is my true voice. And then if I'm utilizing a different, like I'm adding distortion, which you could say, I'm sure some people would disagree with this, but you could say that that's phonation as well, right? I'm trying to communicate with you like this. Like, you can understand what I'm saying. I'm conveying meaning with that sound. So I think that, and I'm sure that there are also a lot of people that would agree. That falls under phonation, definitely. Now, interestingly enough, on his lows, he's not creating that true chord phonation. It's all texture, right? But on the highs, we had plus a little bit of He had a different balance than I'm doing right now. Probably right about there. Really interesting. You can do that if you have a very strong control of your distortion and your distortion is separated from your vocal folds. If your distortion is coming from up high, you're good to go. Although I heavily, and with all of my students, we start with non-true chord phonated screams to keep their vocal folds as safe as possible, right? Let's keep going. Oh. Yeah. All right, here's a little transition. Now, one thing I want to talk about is that really right now he's doing one vocal style with, throwing some highs in there for flavor. One thing that I think is a bit, how do I say this? How do I say this as non-controversially as possible? Imagine you went to a sushi restaurant and you wanted sashimi, right? So apparently a lot of the ways that we refer to sushi in the United States is wrong. So I'm sorry if I get this a little bit wrong. But my understanding of sashimi is it's a piece of fish on rice. That's it, right? If you want that dish, don't add a lot of stuff to it, right? If I went to a restaurant and I ordered sashimi and they brought me the rice and the fish and then a bunch of crispy stuff on it and mayo and sriracha and some green onions, right? I'm getting hungry, right? It would taste delicious, but that's a different dish and it has its own merits over here. I think that sometimes in the greater metal vocal community, we think that more techniques in the toolbox means you're a better vocalist. I think that is a short-sighted way of looking at metal vocals. I think that that's short-sighted. Now, if that's just your preference, right? If you enjoy the sound of more techniques happening in a smaller space of a song, that's okay. I love that, right? I'm not saying that enjoying that is bad. But I think sometimes when we only listen for maximalism, we miss the nuance and the beauty that can exist in a minimalist style, right? Like the texture of the rice, the freshness of the fish, the color, the glossiness, the feeling of the dish as a whole, right? And we're getting a lot of that here. So if you're just listening to this and saying like, okay, I get it, he's doing one scream, you're missing it a little bit. I'm just being honest with you, you're missing it a little bit because we have various modulations of vowel sounds. He's taking his lips, he's taking his tongue, he's utilizing his voice to supplement what's going on. So we have right? We have all that various range going on with one technique. So, and I'm not trying to throw shade here or anything like that. I'm just saying that there's a wide horizon that we can all listen to and enjoy. Some of my favorite vocalists do one tone, and that's it. Others of my favorite vocalists are all over the place. So it's a broad and beautiful world here. Let's keep going though. That's just something I wanted to point out. And then if he drops down really guttural and low again, we can talk about how to get your low lower without having to drop your larynx. Let's go. Oh, oh. Yo, is he wearing a glove? I have never seen that. Is that a common thing? I'm not a guitarist. I don't usually pay a whole lot of attention to guitar technique. I listen to guitar very passively. I just enjoy it. I don't analyze it very much since I don't personally play. He's playing with a glove. Is that a common thing? If you know why he's playing with a glove, tell me in the comments below because I've never seen that. I would imagine, well, maybe it helps get around the fretboard easier. Less friction. I don't know. That was weird. Tell me about it. Huh. Oh. Okay, this is actually a really good example because he took a low and he opened it up, right? One thing that we will often see, and one thing that we will often see with people trying to create low tones is the idea of dropping your larynx. Now, I'm not going to say that that's 100% wrong, right? Because a lot of us have slightly different anatomy. We may have to make slight adjustments that other people don't necessarily need to make to get certain resonant sounds. However, I have personally never really needed to drop my larynx very low. Now, I'm not the status quo. Of course, many people have different shaped anatomy than I do, but I have also helped a good amount of people not have to rely on dropping their larynx to get a low tone. A lot of the way that we can get lower is by maximizing resonance in our mouth, right? For example, if I do my lowest low that I possibly can, I put all the work, right, of getting low in my mouth. So the way that I do that is I open it, I extend it, I curl my tongue to keep all the airflow and the sound waves in for a little bit longer, and I utilize a vowel that's inherently in the front. And it's really easy to know where a vowel inherently exists because you just pay attention to where the resonance sits. So if you say E, the letter E, right, you feel your hard palate buzzing. If you say you feel it more in your soft palate, right? So these vowels tell you where they want to be. They're asking you to put them in the right spot. So for example, let's say I take my lowest low that I can create, right? And now there are people that can get lower than me, of course. I cheat a little bit. I pull on my whiskers because that further expands the cavern of my mouth, right? So the lowest low that I do easily and comfortably is probably right around here. Now, I'm going to one by one turn all those levers off, and you're going to hear I'm actually just doing a mid, right? That's what's going on, right? And my larynx just gets to chill. It actually raises a little bit, very slightly when I create the distortion. So, if I turn this into my speaking voice, you can hear that I'm doing nothing acrobatic. I'm not putting my voice where it's uncomfortable. Hey. So, my whole point, the reason I'm going on and on about this is because if it works for you, if dropping your larynx a little bit works for you, be aware of it. Don't drop it too low. Do some warm-ups to relax those muscles and do what works. However, if dropping your larynx is not working for you, focus on the mouth. Hey, focus on oral resonance rather than cranking down on stuff. I'm gonna go back a little bit, and you can hear him do that. He had that low. He opened up, and it was a mid. I'm gonna go back a little bit so you can kind of hear that. What are we at? 331. Let's go to 318. Why not? Oh. Ooh. Let's take a second to talk about slowly developing a high scream, right? There are different types of highs. There are like your pure fry tone high screams. There are more of what I do in my own personal music, which really just utilizes my soft palate and the I always get this name wrong because it's a long name, palatopharyngeal arch, or the palatine fold. It's basically behind your tonsils, the part that can do this. That's where most of my distortion comes from, and a lot of people's distortion comes from as well. Sometimes that gets called a fry scream. When in Rome, do as the people do. But one way that we can kind of develop the beginnings of a high scream is don't try to start high. Try to start just a little bit above your low, right? So if I take a low, and most of what I do falls under the false chord umbrella. That's most of my vocalization, right? So if I take that, right, and I loosen it up a little bit, yeah, right there, like that. Now if I loosen this up and I raise it, right? If I sort of raise it, right, this sound, now again, I'm not using my vocal folds, but if I was to use my vocal folds, it would come from here. Right there. Ha, ha, ha. What if I come from here? Ha, ha, ha. Right? That right there. Just get comfortable with that. Stick with that for a couple weeks, a month. Who cares? Then over time, you can practice shifting that voice upwards, move like leaning that resonance sort of forward and into the nose. Get that high scream. That takes a while to develop, so don't worry if it takes you time, or if you're just kind of picking it up super fast, good on you. Hell yeah. Let's go ahead and finish out the song here. Witsky Vision. That was sick. That was good stuff. Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about is just the fact that, and I talk about this a lot because, well, it's a commonality amongst good vocalists, relaxation, right? A lot of times when we do vocals, you see people like, right? Much of the time, strong vocalists are not doing that because they need to. They're doing it because it's performance. This vocalist, if he was like in the studio, right? No cameras on him. He was just focused on sound. He would probably just be hanging out like we are now. You can hear that the effort is about the same as my speaking voice. As far as difficulty, I am utilizing more abdominal support. I am I should say, opening up. It doesn't feel like speaking, of course, because I'm using a distortion mechanism, right? But if you look, hey man, what's going on? Hey man, what's going on? Hey man, what's going on? Right? It's all chill. It's chill. The sooner you learn to ease back on the strain and the squeezing, the sooner your screams are going to sound better. Something to think about. Anyways, that is enough of that. If you enjoyed Obscura, Devoured Usurper, go to the original video, show him some love. Although, I'd be surprised if, you haven't heard it already because the song is dope. If you enjoyed the video, like, share, and subscribe. Means a lot. If you want to learn how to do stuff like this, hit me up, email in the description. I will help you out finding your voice in a healthy and safe way. That'll be pretty cool. And of course, check us out on Patreon, events, help us make more videos, all that same stuff I always say. But beyond that, many thanks, much love.